What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and today I am back with a preview for the upcoming PFL for 2024 regular season card, which goes down in the Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut. Back to I suppose you would call it the home of Bellator. No, you could have called that San Jose at one stage. You could have called it different places, but we are taking PFL now to Uncasville, the Mohegan Sun, and it's a place we know for MMA for a very, very long time. As I mentioned, and it's fun to get back there. So we know a lot of the Bellator fighters on this, I'm sure, have fought there many times, and it will be. It'll be nice to go back to the Mohegan Sun, where I know the ABC is kind of based there with Mike Mazzulli and all of that as well. So it's a good place to go back to. And this is a pretty interesting card. There's obviously a lot of movement going to be made, considering it's the second fight for the two weight classes which are on show, with the heavyweights and the women flyweights as well. So this is moving week in the PFL and in the regular season, because you can get through the first one maybe with a loss or maybe a decision win or something like that, but now you're going to have to make it count. This is where where the $1 million is won. If you can't get through this, you can't get that finish maybe that you need, or can't get that win that you need. It could be the end of your season. So massive opportunity and risk as well, though, for a lot of the people involved here. And that's one thing, with PFL. And people always ask me, like, so someone said to me the other day, right? Oh, you're not, you don't care about this UFC undercard, yet you'll go and watch a PFL card and get excited about it. Well, the reason I get excited about it is there is, like, how many fights in this? I haven't added them up, but like 7, 8, 9, 10 fights, whatever it is, on this card and the next card and the next card, that all matter. I know every fight matters to every fighter, but they all matter in terms of going to the next stage of the regular season, obviously the playoffs and to the finale. They all matter because they have jeopardy. My friend Graham McDonald over in the Severe MMA podcast loves to use the word jeopardy. And that's the reason we watch sports. I'm a big Man United fan. Man United were in the FA Cup final a few weeks ago. There's real jeopardy in that. The week before they played, Fulham or someone, and the season was over. They couldn't get up a place down. I didn't even watch it. Who cares? That jeopardy is why we watch sports. If you're a fan of the Yankees and they're in the World Series, or a fan of the Boston Celtics at the moment are in the are in whatever the World Championship for the basketball is called. If you're in that game, matters a little bit more, or the semifinals or the quarterfinals, they matter. And the vast majority of, let's say, UFC fights, they matter to the fighters, but do they matter to me or you? Like, they might need to win 8 fights for the next one to really matter, in terms of the winning big money or getting to a big opportunity. Whereas the PFL, you win 2 fights and you have a big opportunity. And that's, there's a lot of things to criticize a lot of MMA promotions about, but that's one of the really cool things. Like, I think tournaments don't always work, right? But they do win, they do for the winners, absolutely. But they do to give the fans something to latch onto, and the fighters something, obviously, to aim for. Like, when I've always been a fan of tournaments, but like obviously the way the PFL are doing it with the kind of the season and doing it a little bit differently and doing it constantly, it took me a while, and I talked about this before, but it took me a while to fall in love with the idea. And I think a lot of that, me falling in love with ideas, because the fighters have gotten so much better. And even this season is good, but thinking about next season and thinking about that possible lightweight picture next season and things like that. It's like, imagine you have AJ McKee, Patricky Pitbull, Paul Hughes, etc. in that. Maybe Oba Murcia comes back. Maybe you have Brendan Loughnane going, imagine that lightweight tournament. It'd be unbelievable. And I think it's gradually gotten better and better all the time, every season of the PFL, and I think it's even better this season, and I think next season will be even better. So, you add that in, the better fighters, the jeopardy, and you really have a lot. You really have a lot. So let's get into this. I was going to start this off with the standings, but I went on a bit of a soliloquy there as I tend to do. So let's if I can fix my hair there. No, I have to ruin it again. Anyway, let's have a look at the standings. So I don't know if I can put. I don't know if I can pull this up. They'll probably be on the screen alongside me when the magic of editing is done there. So the heavyweights and the women's flyweight this week. Just to run through the heavyweight table. At the top, Valentin, Moldavsky, 1-0. The first 5 fighters actually are 1-0. But Moldavsky is ahead of the rest with 6 points. Popov with 5 points, as is my guy Daniel James. If you haven't heard my interview with him, actually give a great interview. Please check that out on the Sherdog YouTube as well. Then we've Denis Goltsov on 3 points and Sergey Bilostini on 3 points. Did I say Goltsov is on 4 points? Did I say 3? I think I said 3. Goltsov on 4 and 3 for Sergey. And then we have Ivanov, Vassell, Mauri, Golm, and Ante Delia all on 0 points. And big fights obviously coming up for those guys. The women's standings. Then we have 3 away at the top with 6 points in Dakota Ditcheva, Talia Santos and Jenna Bishop. Then we have Liz Carmouche and Canon Wanatabe both on 3 points at 1-0. So all of those first 5 1-0, and then the next 5 are obviously 0-1, all on 0, apart from Shanna Young, who's -1, who she missed weight, didn't she? I believe she did. But then we have Juliana Velasquez, Chelsea Hackett, Ilira Joanna, and Lisa Malden, whose name I absolutely destroyed the last time I did. So, as I said again, big opportunity, I suppose, but a big risk as well for the fighters fighting this weekend. And let's start at the very top, and let's talk about Valentin Moldavsky against Linton Vassell, because this is a very, very interesting fight, and we've seen it twice before, and they're 1-1, and that makes it very, very interesting. There's been lots and lots and lots of rematches in the PFL this year. Most would argue maybe too much, but this one is one that it was a no-brainer, really. They fought back in 2023, and Vassell won that. They fought before that in 2019, and Moldavsky won that. So this is the third meeting of the pair, and it's been a bit of an odd time, right? So let's look at Moldavsky first. He fought Steve Mowry in his last Bellator fight at Bellator 298 and won that by unanimous decision. And like I always shock people by telling them that Valentin Moldavsky has had 17 fights and 10 of them have gone to a decision. Now, and even before that, I was like, he's had 12 wins, but he's had 10 decisions in his career, which is something for a heavyweight that you don't really expect and don't see a lot. But this is the point I'm getting to. He went in and he faced Ante Delia. He came out swinging and knocked him out in just over 2 minutes. This is the difference between normal fights and the season format. So he lifted his game because of that, took out like arguably the best heavyweight that the PFL had, and finds himself in a great position here. And that's kind of, those are 2 fights he's had since the Linton Vassell fight, which was in March of last year. Vassell, on the other hand, then he's only had 1 fight since but he fought Denis Goltsov. And at 41 years of age, he kind of looked it in that fight. Whereas before that, he was on a 5-fight win streak, culminating in the Moldavsky win, and obviously on the verge of getting that title shot in Bellator. And we'll went into the PFL tournament instead, and we'll see how that shakes out, I suppose, over the next while. But he had beaten Haratonov, Honey Marks, Tyrell Fortune, Tim Johnson, and Moldavsky in that run, but then went in against Goltsov, did very well for the start, but kind of faded. And I'm very interested to see how Moldavsky actually reacts to that, because there's 2 ways you can go, right? When you see that, you can go the way that you entered this tournament and you went in there against Ante Delia. You went out quick. You went out for the finish. You knew it's a season long. You knew you'd be fighting again quickly. He knows if he wins, he'll be fighting again in however many weeks. And, later on in the year again for the playoffs and the finale. So, is like, now, maybe I'm playing too much into it, right? Maybe he didn't go out purposely quickly and try to finish it. Maybe it just worked out that way, and he does that in every fight. I don't know. I'm skeptical, right? I think he probably did. So, like, is that what you do again, or did you look at that fight with Vassell, think, right, I've actually done that once to Vassell before. Can I do it to him again? You know, where the first fight that he won was obviously a very long fight, you know, whereas Vassell the last time got on top and knocked him out with punches and elbows. And, you know, you watch that fight and you think, okay, if they had that fight again, maybe you think Moldavsky could turn it back, but Vassell did obviously very, very well in it. So the second point there is obviously, like, could the longer game strategy be the way Moldavsky goes about it? Try to fight, you know, the 3-round fight, try to tire him out, and then by the time the fight gets to the third round, if you're in business. I honestly don't know. I usually have a good sense of the tactical game or the tactical decision that a fighter is going to make beforehand, but not really for this one. I think it could really go either way because of that season format. Like, will he look to the matchup over the season format, or the season format over the matchup? To me, it definitely felt like he looked at the season matchup, the season format over the matchup in the first fight. But that's easier said than done against the guy who you've already fought twice. I think Moldavsky as well, now at 32 years of age, is, he's closer to the prime of his career, especially as a heavyweight, than obviously Vassell at 41. And I think this fight really is his for the taking if he can take it, but it's not always easier said than done. Look, Vassell looked very, very, very human in that last fight. There's absolutely no shred or doubt about that whatsoever. So you would have to favor Moldavsky, I think, coming into this one, and he's going to be the pick for that. Right, let's look at the next fight, and this one is a lot easier of a pick, and this is Dakota Ditcheva against Chelsea Hackett. Now, just first of all on Chelsea Hackett, coming out of Gold Coast in Queensland, 24 years of age, 4-2-1 in her career. Lost her last fight to Jenna Bishop, where she was quickly finished with an armbar in the first round. Looking back at the notes of that one, Bishop getting an armbar from her back, slammed and made the sub even tighter, is probably not a great way to start off your career in the in this year's PFL. I know she's had another fight in the PFL in 2023 as well, but look, what can you say about someone who goes in and gets armbarred very, very quickly in their first fight? She hasn't fought to that level before. I know she was in Dana White Contender Series, ended up losing there as well. Whereas the other side of it, Dakota Ditcheva looked about as good as you can, went in against Lisa Malden. I don't know, was it a step up from Valentin Skitisi, but she went in and she finished her. That beautiful knee to the body. She looked absolutely phenomenal. And look, the likelihood of this is going to be an absolute destruction as well. But I like the matchup here, and this is going to sound odd, but I like the matchmaking in that I don't think it would have been the right time right now to give Ditcheva one of the other serious contenders in that weight class, and those would be either, say, Wanatabe, Velasquez, Carmouche, or Talia Santos at that stage. I'm happy enough with her getting one of the other competitors, giving her another fight. She's still very, very young in her career. What did I say? 11 fights in, only 25 years of age, and you look, this could be the biggest star in your company possibly down the line if things keep going well. Now, there's no guarantee that will happen, but I think another fight to protect her a little bit, and then another fight, let's say against the Wanatabe or someone like that, and then obviously you're looking at a finale against the Carmouche, Talia Santos or someone like that. Very, very interesting next two fights for Dakota Ditcheva. This one not so much. I think this will be a showcase fight for her, and I think she will win it pretty well. And next fight on the card is Marcelo Golm against Tyrell Fortune. 10-5 is Marcelo Golm. Lost his last two, both to Daniel James. Obviously I spoke to Daniel James about that and about that rematch and all, and he was kind of like, look, you keep putting him in front of me and I'll keep beating him. But Golm has had a lot of, you look at his record and 10 wins, 10 finishes. He's one of those guys that if you give him an opportunity, he'll absolutely finish you. And you could say the same, I suppose, about Tyrell Fortune, a guy who I have a lot of respect for as a fighter. 9 finishes and his 13 wins, and a lot of knockouts for him as well. We saw how well Sergey Abilisini fought last time out, and I think he's like a dark horse coming in to this, and he beat him. He won. It was okay. It was a disqualification. I remember talking about this last time. But still, he won that fight. He beat Raheem Cleveland, another guy I have a lot of respect for. Saeed Soma, who's a good prospect. Matt Mitrion down through the years, and he's been in there with Linton, Vassell, and Tim Johnson and others as well. So, this is an interesting fight. I probably lean Fortune in this one, to be honest. But a big fight for the heavyweight division again. The next two fights are arguably the two standout fights on the card. We have, first of all, Liz Carmouche against Kana Wanatabe. Carmouche has obviously been on an unbelievable run, and she beat Kana the last time they fought back in 2021 over in Bellator and finished her in 35 seconds. So obviously Liz will be the favorite coming into this again. But Kana 13-2. She's done pretty well since. She lost to Elima McFarlane by split decision, and it was a pretty contentious split decision if memory serves me correct. But she's beaten Denise Keelholz since then. Shanna Young last time out as well. Pretty good wins, and even before that she's beaten Lara Joanna and others as well. So look, you're looking at Wanatabe, you're thinking she's a lot of submissions in there. If she can get the fight to the ground and submit Liz Carmouche, that's probably her best way to win. But Carmouche then has kind of turned her game around in the last few years and has been finishing people all over the place, like Deanna Bennett submission, armbar and Juliana Velasquez as well. After the first win, like her submission game, I think, has gone to the next level as well, in her ground game. So it's, if you're a finisher on the ground, it's not going to be that easy to finish Liz Carmouche. Now, it might be the best way for you to do it, but at the same time, is it the best way to do it? Maybe not. Liz, 40 years of age. This, how long can she keep going? How long can she keep doing this? She's on an 8-fight win streak, I think it is now, or a 9-fight win streak. Absolutely, what a time in her career, like absolutely unbelievable. So, another big opportunity for Liz here to go on, and after this she's going to be fighting. I'm really looking forward to the fights after this, because they can't be avoided. The matchmaking has to be serious contender versus serious contender. And I've said this before, but the women's flyweight division that they have this year is better than they've ever had before. It's always been, one person, right? Even when Pacheco and Harrison were there, and I'll explain it to you, because it was Harrison expected to win for, I think, was it 4 years? Every year it was like, okay, this is a one-horse race. Okay, she didn't win it one year, but it was still a one-horse race. And then the next year, it was just Pacheco. Harrison wasn't in it. So again, it was a one-horse race. We all knew Pacheco was going to win it. So we've never had a competitive women's season in the PFL, but now we have, because who's going to win it out of Ditcheva, Santos, and Carmouche, right? If you pick the three of them, forget everyone else. Who's going to win it out of the three and that stuff? And then you've Kana Wanatabe, is no joke. I think Juliana Velasquez is a serious test for Dakota Ditcheva at this stage of her career. Just because Velasquez has lost, 3 times now, is it, to Liz Carmouche? That doesn't mean she's a joke. She's still a very, very good fighter. And if, if she met Ditcheva down the line or whatever, that's a tough matchup. So this is a very, very interesting few weeks for this division. This is, okay, there isn't 8 or 9 or 5 or 6 even, but the 3 that you have there, one is going to have to be standing at the end of it, and I can't wait to see who that one is. I really don't know. I honestly really don't know. So I'm really looking forward to that. While we're at it, we might as well finish the women's flyweight division, because we're talking about it here. Elira Joanna and Shanna Young are fighting on this card as well. Obviously, Shanna Young is on -1. Elira Joanna is on is on 0. So look, the winner. There's going to have to be a winner there. I feel like Lira Joanne sometimes blows hot and cold. You could say the same, I suppose, for Shanna Young. Toss of a coin fight there. I'll go with Lira Joanne as my pick there. I'm going to go for Liz Carmouche as well in the last fight. I'm going to pick Juliana Velasquez against Lisa Malden. And you know what's interesting as well? That Juliana Velasquez fight against Lisa Malden. Usually if you're a person like Juliana Velasquez, 37 years of age, you haven't won a fight since 2021 and you've lost all 3 fights in a row to Liz Carmouche in 2 different organizations, you know, you'd be probably thinking about retirement, right? You would if it was anyone else, if it was anywhere else at any time in MMA. But now she has a fight to like immediately find herself back in a really good position where, you know, she could end up fighting Liz Carmouche again at the end of it, or maybe not. Maybe she could avoid Liz Carmouche. Let's say if Liz was to lose in the semi-final, fight someone else in the final. Like, I firmly believe Juliana Velasquez is like a really, really, really good fighter. And do you know what will really benefit a good fighter like her? A win. And she will beat Lisa Malden. Like, she's 34 years of age, Lisa. She won her last 2 before losing to Ditcheva. I find it very hard, unless Velasquez has just given up the ghost altogether on her career. And you, as I said, you wouldn't blame her for doing that. But I think she will win that. And I honestly think Velasquez could be, again, a possible dark horse in that division if she was to win that fight. There's a couple of other tournament fights and other season fights in the flyweight division. Suino Inaba and Saria Orozoko and Melissa Balchek and Christina Katsikis, which I'm sure they will be keeping an eye on for future seasons of the PFL. So very, very interesting. And like, as I said again, I'll just reiterate it, I'm really, really, really excited about, you know, what happens in that division, because it's, you know, it's an unknown. It's a serious unknown that we don't get an awful lot of in we've never really had, as I said, in the women's tournaments in the PFL. So a massive few weeks for that, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Right. I believe there is actually a change, and it's happened today, I believe, in the Dennis Goltsov was supposed to fight Sergio Billestini, and now he's fighting, let me just pull it up. Have I lost it here? He's fighting, I believe, Thiago Santos at heavyweight instead, which is a very, very interesting fight as well. You know, Goltsov, if you look at the division and where he stands in it now, obviously 4 points in a good enough position, but at heavyweight you just never know. Like, someone could get a fucking 5-second knockout and suddenly they have 6 points and you might be struggling, or, you know, you end up losing, or you don't get a decision. You could be very quickly that 5th position there. So I'm very interested to see how that fight goes. Now, Thiago Santos, again, it's a tough fight to decipher this one, I feel like, because you look at Santos and you look at him over the last while and you kind of say, like, you know, he lost to Yoel Romero, lost to Jamal Hill in the UFC, you know, the Rob Wilkinson no contest. Like, he's won 1 fight against Johnny Walker in the last, how many years? It's like 6 years, 5 years. It's going to be tough. Like, Goltsov, again, he looked good against Linton Vassell in the latter half of that. He good, maybe good as a stretch, but, you know, what would be the word? He looked fit and ready for it anyway. You would wonder if his his ability to take lads down, like, look at, like, his fights against guys like Josh Ederman, Cesar Ferreira took him down and ground and pounded him out of it. Would that be enough to win a fight against a guy like Thiago Santos? I think it probably would. So if I'm giving a pick for that, I'd go for him to win it. But again, how fit is Santos coming into this? Was he preparing? Was he in the right mindset coming into this? Who knows at that stage? But it's very interesting, very, very interesting to see where I suppose the table lies after that one, where it lies after some of the other heavyweight fights that are going on. The Daniel James and Tyrell Fortune as well is on this card, I believe. Another fight that Daniel James was supposed to have had a few times, I believe, and there was obviously the no contest in the fight they had back in a few years ago. He was supposed to fight him a few months ago, and ended up fighting Marcelo Golm. And he got the news of the fight. Like I interviewed him, and then we kind of, something happened with the internet, and then I interviewed him for another 50 minutes, and he heard about the fight in between, and he's like, "Oh God, I can't believe this fight is happening again." But I'm a little bit biased now, because like I got a real affection for Daniel James after that interview. But like I do, like, he's a guy, maybe he doesn't get enough credit for how good he is, Daniel James, because I often call him the Bellator, now the PFL Derek Lewis, and that's kind of like that's sometimes you look at that and you go, okay, why is he fighting that way? Like, could he fight a more technical way, possibly? Could he be could he be a different sort of fighter and leaving maybe less of it to risk? But no, I don't think so. I think it works well for him, and I think he's actually getting better, maybe at similar enough maybe to Derek Lewis. He's becoming a more technical fighter, although I think it actually suits Daniel James more to become a more technical fighter, if that makes sense. And I think especially in a fight like this against a guy like that, I think it will benefit him. So I'm picking him there to beat Tyrell Fortune and to win that fight. After that, then the Danilo Marquez against Tim Johnson, Oleg Popov against Davion Franklin. I have pulled up the card here on the PFL website. I'll give it in, because I haven't gone in order there properly. But the way they have it on the PFL website is the main event: Moldavsky against Vassell, Ditcheva against Hackett, Golsov against Santos, obviously, which we just talked about there. Carmouche and Wanatabe, Santos and Bishop. That's Talia Santos fight. We haven't maybe mentioned that in full as well. Like, massive again for Talia Santos, because she wins that fight, and obviously she's going to be going forward into the semi-finals and towards the final. But she's probably drawn like the hardest matchup of the non-big three, I suppose, against Jenna Bishop, who's 7-0. She went in there, she beat Chelsea Hackett, finished her, beat Illyria Joanna. And now she's had 2 fights in Bellator, 1 fight in PFL, fought a load in PFL in LFA before that. She's obviously a really good grappler, a lot of grappling matchups over the last few years as well. I'd obviously favour Talia Santos there, and I think she will be the big favourite. But that's no joke of a fight whatsoever for Talia Santos, and she's definitely drawn maybe the short straw there. But she's probably well able, and I think they probably view her as the top. Maybe is the top fighter there. It's hard to say that. But after that, then we've Popov Franklin, which we mentioned, Golm versus Fortune, Joanna against Young, Marquez against Johnson, Velasquez against Malden, Inabe, Arakozo, Balic, Katsikas to open the card. So that is your PFL 4 card. We get back with the PFL here for the next 3 weeks. We also have the Bellator Dublin Challenger Series in the middle of that as well, or Champion Series in the middle of that as well. So big time for PFL over the next few weeks, and I will be here to cover it all. I'll have previews and recaps for every single one of those cards. So stick with me here on the Sheehan Show on Sherdog.com, and we'll be here every single week. I will leave it there. My name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.